Ashley Nicole Moss, a name you should all be familiar with by now, is back here with us. Ashley, what, if anything, did Deshaun answering questions do for you today, especially in light of everything that's happened since we last saw you? A Real Sports package, a New York Times report, and at least 4 new lawsuits added to the existing ones.
I don't think it did anything different than the initial Browns press conference did when he was first introduced, right? It was a lot of the same sentiments. It was a lot of the same remarks and phrases. So it's not anything groundbreaking. Obviously, he wants to clear his name. Obviously, he just wants to focus on football. We know that. Unfortunately, that's just not what the case is going to be, right? There's just a lot in his direction and it just keeps coming. And unfortunately, these are questions that he's going to have to field throughout the season. If he plays this season, even if he doesn't, he's going to have to field them in a different space. And the Browns organization, and unfortunately, maybe even his teammates and the coaches and, everyone involved in bringing him to Cleveland is going to constantly have to answer these questions. The exposés aren't stopping. The lawsuits aren't stopping. The accusations aren't stopping. And until there's some sort of rectification of all of this, until there's some sort of just cemented results, whether it is positive or negative, it's just going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to be a conversation. And like I said, I don't think it was anything groundbreaking. I just think that it's just going to be a perpetual conversation, really.
You know what? If let's say the legal team came to you, Ashley, and said, look, we're not handling this well, and we want a smart commentator like you to help us figure it out, what should we do? What should our approach be going forward? What would you tell them?
I think there needs to be a little bit more focus on the human aspect of this than the football aspect. I think that we've seen commentary focus primarily on what an incredible athlete is, and he's very gifted. I don't think anybody can say that he's not gifted on the football field, and that, in different circumstances, this is the quarterback that you would want, right? When he was first drafted, everybody wanted him, and he fell into the hands of the Houston Texans, and, people everywhere were like, how did we let that happen? So you can't take that away from him, and you shouldn't. But I think that also because we are so enamored as a society with the athletic ability of, athletes and what they're able to do that the normal quote unquote person is not, we forget the human aspect of things. And, 66 accusations and 24 civil lawsuits, is something that you can't ignore. And I feel like people sometimes may feel like they just want to keep it in the sports realm. And unfortunately, when you're talking about accusations as serious and severe as this, that affect or allegedly affect so many different women, you have to look at it under a different microscope. And that microscope includes looking at it from a human aspect and how that is affecting, the women who are accusing him of certain things, and how it is going to look to the fan base and to the city of Cleveland. There's multiple layers to the conversation outside of just him as an athlete.
It's like I said early on, we cannot default to centering the quarterback in these conversations. Let's shift the conversation, make a hard pivot to the NBA Finals, and I'll just ask you broadly, Ashley. Since you're obviously an outsider, you don't have to worry about your team being here anytime soon. I'm sorry. That was just way too easy. Way too easy. But what is the story of these finals to you? Individually, theme, just what's the story of the finals so far?
I think individually, it's the old dogs, if you will, versus the new dogs. I think a lot of people thought that the window for a championship was closing for the Golden State Warriors. I was not one of those people, by the way. I just want to put that out there. And then I think, it's really the difference maker that the right coach can be for a specific team. obviously the Boston Celtics have a lot of talent. And I think some may even say, roster for roster, they're the more talented team. It just goes to show chemistry matters. It goes to show history matters. It goes to show experience matters. And I think as a whole, this finals and the playoffs in general, I think the unpredictability factor of it and the constant roller coaster and the sometimes blowouts and the sometimes, teams advancing that you did not have in your prediction showcase the changing of the guards in the NBA. And what I mean by that is I think the era of the super teams, and I've said this time and time again, is dying or it's dead. I think you're seeing a lot more teams going through what the Warriors have done, and that's homegrown talent that they're really willing to invest into and develop to see that result and to reap those benefits years later and to do it continually for a certain amount of seasons. You saw the same thing in Boston. Obviously, the coaching situation was really what they needed their help with, but this team, for the most part, has been together. It's obviously the addition of Ime Udoka, who's a difference factor. You see it with the Grizzlies. Homegrown guys. You see it with Miami. Homegrown guys that flew under the radar a lot of other teams. Obviously, Jimmy Butler is a superstar, but a lot of those guys flew under the radar in the draft and things like that and have really been developed to be the team that they are. So I think, the era of the big three in Brooklyn and 5 Hall of Famers and your starting 5 and the Lakers and even the Philadelphia 76ers where, James Harden, Joel Embiid and trying to make magic happen quick. I think we're done with that era. Yeah.
Hey, we are done, but listen, if the Knicks are listening, get this young lady in your front office, please. In the meantime, come back soon, Ashley.
Michael, I have been trying to tell them this.
All right, we will see y'all later.
Ashley, you'd be a great GM. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.